Hi, I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Mark Angelides, Sarah Cowgill, Tim Donner, and Pennell Bird. And this is the Conservative 5, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. We're smack dab in the middle of Black History Month, yet some important and notable Black folks and abolitionists are notoriously absent from the many commercials and ads that tell the story of so many. Black History Month was first started as a week-long celebration by Carter G. Woodson back in 1926. His goal was to celebrate Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. Fast forward nearly a century, and social justice warriors routinely exclude Black conservatives like Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice from their quotable notable list. So it's time to turn to our panel for an explanation. Speaking of the cancel culture, let's go to the belly of the beast, out on the left coast. Liberty Nation's Pennell Bird lives there. So Pennell, is cancel culture the death knell for Black conservatives?
Well, Lisa, I would say first off that the way things are going, cancel culture will come for us all in the end until it's just like God and Bill Gates having a chat in a white room. The devil pokes his head in. Oh, this guy, the computer guy, come on, man. Sorry, I'm not sure why the devil talks like Joe Biden, but you guys could probably figure that out.
Okay, we're going to be banned for sure.
I would say, look, you mentioned some great Black Americans, Clarence Thomas, and I think you mentioned Condoleezza Rice. Also, we could mention Tim Scott, Thomas Sowell, Shelby Steele, Carol Swain, even Larry Elder. The list could go on and on and on. And I think the issue is they've all contributed invaluably to the American story, but they also, I think, highlight the sort of manifest hypocrisy of the left because they are ignored or derided because of their inconvenient conservatism. And, that's just, I see that as just wrong. So I try to remember the lessons of Martin Luther King Jr. I think you can distill it down to one simple wish that he had, which is that we all judge each other based on the content of our character, not the color of our skin. And I've decided lately, Lisa, that the doctors take the Hippocratic oath, and I think it's clear the progressive left takes what I will call the hypocritic oath. And I think I nailed that one.
Very nice. You did.
That was
Bravo.
nice.
Okay. Round of applause.
Yeah, I think they ought to, Lisa, I think they ought to take white people out from deciding what message we're supposed to get during Black History Month. Because once the progressives get hold of the narrative, we're going to get something much more resembling 1619 rather than 1776. But, maybe we could split the difference. And you and I talked about this recently, Lisa, that maybe we could start something called the 1865 Project, which is a compromise between 1776 and 1619, because that's when the slaves were freed first with the Emancipation Proclamation and, more importantly, the post-Civil War amendments. So maybe that's a point we can all come together on. I'm not saying we will, but there's something we could come together on, because one thing these racial justice warriors don't like to talk about is a civil war where hundreds of thousands of Americans were willing to shed blood for the sake of this supposedly white supremacist nation. They don't like to talk about that. And I think, the stories of Union soldiers, Black Union soldiers, is a powerful one that we ought to be hearing. I personally think that's one we ought to be hearing a lot about during Black History Month.
I agree, Tim. And, that was as beautifully rendered in the film Glory, which Denzel Washington won an Oscar for. It's an amazing film. I watched it recently. But you're right. They routinely ignore the sacrifices of Americans during the Civil War. And that's not right.
And they never point out it was their Democratic successor to President Abraham Lincoln, who rescinded that field order that gave, a lot of Georgia and a lot of Florida to Black freed slaves. That was where that 40 acres and a mule thing came from. And man, that was rescinded lickety split by Andrew Jackson. So they don't ever talk about that.
No, Andrew Jackson, Andrew Johnson.
Johnson, sorry.
That's okay.
If it were Andrew Jackson, it'd be a $20 bill.
I cannot recite every president.
And you can't tell the Andrews without a scorecard, Sarah.
All right, Mark.
This is not in the UK. It's not Black History Month. I believe we have one, but I'm not sure when it is for my sins. Every month is Black History Month in the UK. We have Anne Boleyn, I believe, is about to be played by a very beautiful and talented young Black woman, which should be interesting. But there's a recent book came out last year, 2020. It was 100 Great Black Britons. And the most notable aspect of that book was that there was not a single person with conservative beliefs in it, not a single one. You missed out some real lions of the conservative thought simply because of what their political beliefs were. Whereas you did have in almost every racial justice campaigner, everybody who has the right political leanings. And it's a whitewashing of history. It's like Orwell's memory hole, where these great people who have contributed so much, not just to Black America and Black Britain, but to humanity, they're being erased from history because they happen to be on the opposite side of the dominant narrative. And that to me is, it makes a mockery of anything that calls itself History Month.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of founders that talked about the tyranny of the majority. And I don't know if they're the majority, but they sure are loud. Well, just before we take a hit, about 5 white people sitting around a table talking about Black History Month, Jeff Charles, Liberty Nation's Jeff Charles, was supposed to be here today. Unfortunately, he's in Texas, where the windmills are frozen, as we said in the last segment, which is why he couldn't be here. I think last I talked to him, he was on 37 hours of without power. All righty, stripping Black history of prominent conservatives appears to be the order of the day, but it only serves to tell one side of the Black story in America. And for that, here at C5, we say for shame. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all our TV productions. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember to surf on over to libertynation.com. Sign up for our new member zone if you haven't already done so, just $17.76 a year. And remember, folks, liberty all the time and everywhere.